Greetings, mind crafters, and welcome to another Mindcraft discussion today. My name is Kimberly Quinn, and I'm so pumped to be here to really assist people with learning how to become the boss of their brain. It's all about what we think. It just really is. We become what we think about all day long. So it's about reining that in, cherry picking those thoughts, allowing what we allowed it to sort of stick is what grows and what expands. And so when we really start to really truly get that, we become a whole lot more careful about where we allow our mind to go. We don't just want to let it hang out in autopilot. It's a gigantic waste of our life minutes, and it can take us nowhere good. So today's topic is kind of a spin-off of yesterday's. We're talking about learning how to become centered. Now we get all this chaos going around us, all this misjugas, right? Just all this craziness going around us. It can be at home, it can be at work, it can just be out in the world, in traffic, in a subway station, who knows? But so we can't control any of that that's going on externally, or very little, right? And what we can control is staying centered. So today's spin-off conversation is about learning to become less annoyed. Wayne Dyer, actually, another one of my favorites, talks about this a lot. There are people out there. I can't imagine living this way, honestly, but it's so incredibly not, incredibly unenjoyable. But there are so many people out there, apparently, who just are looking for the occasion to be offended, just looking for things to be wrong, looking for things to take personally, looking for things to just looking to have an issue so that they can dig in with their claws and react all over the place and things like that. And so as human beings, of course, we don't do anything unless there's payoff in it. So if that is our current habit, somehow there's payoff in it, or we would not continue to do it. So if someone is easily annoyed, easily bothered, easily offended, we don't want to say this with judgment. We want to say that there's just something going on. It's like there's been a habit that's been allowed to snowball. Like think of that big, heavy, wet snow, like March snow, at least up here in Vermont. March snow just sticks and everything sticks to it. You can just roll it down the hill once. You have this huge ball of snow. Well, that's what it's like. That's what it's like with negativity in general. We're talking specifically about being offended or annoyed or bothered. It's like wet March snowman snow. It just rolls and picks up all the crap around it. And actually, for snowman, that's actually a good metaphor because March snow also picks up when you get close to the ground when the snow's kind of melting. It picks up the leaves under there, the sticks under there. So this is kind of what we're talking about is the negativity momentum that some people have, and specifically with taking things personally, becoming offended, annoyed, in that react mode. So, how to learn to sort of, stop that momentum and shift and lean into a better way of thinking, which will lead into a better way of feeling, which will then lead to a better way of doing. It's amazing to me how sometimes people think, you know, that like, let's say somebody's walking around seemingly happy, not interested in, not, becomes annoyed rarely, takes offense rarely. They're overall pretty happy. And some of the negative Nellies, because this is just where their headspace is. We're not saying with judgment, we're saying they're in a different space that will hopefully shift eventually. Um, they sometimes think that, somebody got like somebody, a happy fairy sprinkled happy dust on their heads or something, or sprinkled go with the flow, pixie dust on their heads, or they won the happiness lottery, like the golden Wonka ticket. Doesn't work like that. And of course, whenever we're talking about human animals and non-human animals, there's some genetics involved, but that's very little of it. And also, Sean Aker, author of the Happiness Advantage, has often talked about this too. He's done tons of research, and a person's happiness level is, I forget the percentage, but it's very small. I want to say it's like 10%. I'm guessing that, but I think in that area of happiness due to external circumstances, like you just got a new car, you just got a new puppy, you landed a new job, whatever. That happiness is fleeting. The overall happiness level comes from within. It just does. And so when we're talking about some of the opposite really is being negative and annoyed and taking offense and all that stuff, that's all ego. That's all ego. Remember that the ego is the evil twin of the authentic self because when someone is feeling whole, happy, and complete, they are not generally annoyed very easily. They don't generally take offense very easily because the whole and happy, complete, very authentic person, understands that, when people are acting, in this, mentally chaotic place, and they're not being their best selves. I'm not saying we're giving anybody a pass. We're not saying that, but the authentic person is a lot better able to yield and to not take it personally because the authentic person also realizes that nobody can hurt their feelings. Why? Because they're their feelings, so they just don't take offense that much. And so sometimes people don't understand that just like anything else in life, happiness takes effort. And when we are on the positivity track, living the Mindcraft lifestyle, while we are pursuing these, different ways to lean into our very best selves, living our very best lives, while we are becoming more positive, we are simultaneously becoming less negative. And I'm talking about neurologically. It's something called neural pruning, which is very Darwinian, right? We've talked about this a couple times before. It's that old thing that if you don't use it, you lose it, which sucks if that's high school Spanish you took, 20 years ago, and you haven't used it, and then you go on a trip to Spain and you can't even, all you got is Buenos Dias, kind of a drag. You spent 3 years in 3 or 4 years in high school Spanish. So that's not a good way for use it, you lose it. But it is good when we are on the Minecraft warrior track, building and shifting into all these good habits. Well, the brain gets it that we are also not using the old negative neural pathways that used to like to get annoyed and offended and judge people. Again, we're not looking for perfection. We all do this at times, but we're looking for progress, not perfection. So while we are on these happiness tracks, learning these new strategies, the brain is also snipping and pruning like the dead stuff, like we do in April. Well, at least in Vermont, it's April. All the dead stuff off the trees, or May, because when we trim off all the dead stuff, that makes room for new growth. So the brain naturally does that while it's becoming more positive. It's also becoming less negative because it's not using those pathways anymore, not getting annoyed as easily, not getting offended as easily. And so the more we shift into the positive stuff, it's becoming we are less drawn to and excited about all these other things like being critical and being annoyed and all that stuff. So that is called very Darwinian, and it's called neural pruning. So I had a little bit of inspiration today by Richard Carlson, PhD, author of Don't Sweat the Small Stuff, because just like last time, I was kind of in that mode. Even though I talk about all this stuff all the time. I just like to do shout outs because I want to share the love and give the credit. If I read even two sentences and it made me go into some fabulous creative, flow zone, I want to make sure that I acknowledge the person who sent me into that place. So today it's Richard Carlson, and he says the payback for becoming less easily bothered is monumental. Your stress level will be reduced. You'll be more accepting of the people and events in your life. You'll have far more fun and will become more interested in and interesting to other people. You'll be a better role model to your family and friends. You'll be less reactive. We've talked about that, right? The more we are present in the moment, which is mindfulness, and it's cumulative like running. The less reactive we become in general, like dealing with traffic, dealing with a really long line at Starbucks, dealing with that person who stepped on your foot in the subway even if it was accidentally. We deal with all of it much easier when we learn to be present. So you'll be less reactive. You'll see life um, less as a burden and more as an adventure. I love that. You'll be less tired and irritated. You'll turn your ordinary life into an extraordinary experience. Oh, I love that. It's all about the mindset. You see stuff, a lot of places. I'm not gonna say everywhere. Lots of places now. It is all about the mindset. The cliches become a cliche for a reason, right? I mean, it's all about the thoughts, and thankfully, we're getting this more and more and more. It actually saddens me, and I'm not saying it in like any kind of arrogant way. It's just like once you're awakened. Oprah has said this in lots of different contexts, and so have other people. The people that she has on her show have also said it. Once the switch is turned on, like you're aware and awake to life, it's tough it doesn't ever get turned off again. Like, even if you get derailed, you kind of get swept up in the ego for a brief moment. Something inside you is, once you're aware, you can't really become unaware again. You can get a little off track, little out of alignment, but it's kind of like a bunch of sirens go off or something. Like, you're out of alignment, you're out of alignment. Go back this way, go back this way, because just become more sensitive to other people's negativity. And I don't mean sensitive in the sense that we're taking it to heart and personally, like we just talked about. I just mean that it's like a force field that's built up in a way that the tolerance is lower for it. It doesn't mean that we just say something crass to get away from them. The authentic person just kind of very smoothly yields away from them. We just kind of have this natural, kind of like mosquito repellent. We have like negative Nelly repellent or something. I don't know, but it's just the switch is just on, and once it's on, he has done a lot of tolerance with this stuff. So he says, Richard says, you'll turn your ordinary life into an extraordinary experience. The truth is, being bothered is no fun. The negative Nellies just attract more and more of each other to themselves, because the thing is, that old cliche, misery loves company, right? That's not exactly the whole truth. Misery attracts miserable company. So they attract more and more and more of each other. Then it's all reinforced and strengthened, and it just takes on a life of its own, and they just reside in that awful place. Meanwhile, life minutes are going by, circling the drain, never to come back again. So, well, the good vibes, same thing. We attract more good vibes. We hang out together, we get stronger, and we get stronger in this positivity vibe, and we attract more positivity. More and more green lights show up that direct us toward our heart's desires and our high octane passion projects and all that stuff. So anyway, he says it's a huge distraction to a quality life. And wait a minute, the truth is, being bothered is no fun. It's a true distraction to a quality life and the ultimate expression of sweating the small stuff. Plus, it's a real turnoff to other people. Amen, Richard. That's the thing, is that negative Nellies aren't that much fun to be around, obviously. And even when they're with each other, I wouldn't they're not having fun. They're just addicted to it. They're just addicted to negativity. Joe Dispenza would say that. When he talks about addiction, sometimes it involves substances or behaviors, but the high majority of the time, he's talking about our own addictive patterns to emotion. And the negative Nellies are definitely addicted to feeling negative because there's payoff in it. They attract each other. They all talk about it. And oh my gosh, I went through the same thing. And this horrible thing that happened, and this horrible thing happened to me. It was the same. Oh my gosh. So now we're sisters in it or brothers in it or whatever. Same, same, same. Reinforces, reinforces, reinforces. And those people, they're a total turnoff. I mean, let's face it. If we talk about, the positive Pete's, positive Penelope's, whatever, the optimists, the happy folks are far more apt to get the jobs, get the good relationships, have healthier relationships, which is why they live longer lives, because relationships are the number one. And happy, optimistic people are generally liked better. So there's the thing. So just like anything, uh, we can practice a skill set. You know how much I love skills. Not that we're going to toss away talents. Talents are good too. The combination is ideal. I love skill sets because we can just make a choice. We can make a decision. I want to become less annoyed. We can make that decision and start right now. We can start the day over at 2:45 at this minute. And then so that's it. We just keep starting it over all day long. And we can become better, and we will become better at anything we practice and set our minds to. So Richard winds it up here basically saying something similar. The way to become less easily bothered or annoyed, that's my word, he uses bothered, is to make it a priority. Remember, we've also talked about this with the essentialist, because I am definitely an essentialist in progress. I'm a grasshopper with it, definitely a novice, definitely a white belt essentialist, but I'm identifying as one. Anyway, they talk a lot about the word priority, which back in the 1400s was singular. Now we say priorities, like get your priorities together. There was a time in the 1400s, and lasted all the way till 1900 something, where it was singular, because think about it, priority, there is only one thing. So if you want to do a daily priority, My priority, as in singular, is to be less annoyed or bothered today. And then, since I'm a big fan of set the bar, do your best, right? We're looking for progress, not perfection. If you fall off the wagon, the annoyed wagon, just get back, back on that, on the wagon of trying to learn to become less annoyed. So you slipped up, you got irritated, start the day over at 1:15 or 11 o'clock at night. Who cares? And then he says, Richard says, observe your own reactions to life. Take note of how uptight you can be and how reactive you are to the events and people around you. When you have done so, make a commitment to become less bothered, especially by little things. That's it. We're all about the choice and getting a grip on the brain, becoming the boss of your brain. Choose to become less annoyed for this day. And then you started again doing the same thing tomorrow. Then all the days add up to weeks and months, and before long, it's a pattern. And you make this part of your whole personality, which is you are a person who doesn't get annoyed very easily. And that's it. This is Kimberly Quinn signing off from the beautiful northern Vermont. Have a mindful, less annoyed day.